Hello and welcome to your Digi Daddy. We're going over my BT12 deck profile for Bloomlordmon, or Bloom Quartz as some people are calling it. We're just going to get right into it. Gummymon is a fantastic egg because when your opponent gets suspended, you can draw one. Really good consistency tool for the deck. Next, we're going to Hydromon. When you unsuspend during your turn, you get to gain a memory. Sometimes that one memory really can make the difference between being able to pop off your Bloomlord plays and having to pass turn. It is really important. I might switch up the ratios just because sometimes unsuspending during your turn is even more valuable than just being able to draw, but we'll see. I'm still doing testing. This is just the first version of this deck. Next, we're doing the Cherrymon. It's the memory blocker one. It is a good card, especially if you want to stop your opponent from gaining memory. Really good against Hunters or Crossheart, or even Merva, which is getting more and more popular. And so we want this so that way we can kind of floodgate our opponents. Next, we're going into the Pomomon. This one is the one where you can't play, all turns players can't play Digimon by effects. This can seem counterintuitive because we are playing a lot of Digimon by effects with this deck, but with it, it's a really good thing so you can stop your opponent by playing Digimon by effects, and then if you need to, you can Digivolve on top of it, or you can just attack with it to chip away at your opponent. It's a really good early game tool, especially if they don't have blockers or any defenses. Next, we're going into the other Pomomon, and this one is one of when you suspend this Digimon, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Fantastic, especially for that Bloomlord piercing. Next, we're going into the Searcher Palmon. Fantastic, exactly what you need for this deck. I almost always see at least 2 or 3 copies of this card, and it really gets me the pieces that I need, especially when you are looking for those pieces just to build up into your Bloomlord. Next, we're doing 2 copies of the Mushroomon. I might bring it up to 4 just because it is a simple 2 cost to hard play, and it's just a simple tool for the deck. Next, for champions, we are going into the Weedmon. Weedmon for Digiburst, but it is a 1 cost to Digivolve. That's the main thing that we're doing for, and it's a 3000, so that way we can play it off of our other effects. Next, we're going into 4 copies of the Red Vegemon. This Red Vegemon is 3 cost to just play, which is fantastic, but 1 cost to Digivolve, so then you can draw for the Digivolution. It's a really good one for this deck. It doesn't have any effects, but we want it for just building up into that stack as quickly as possible, or multiple stacks. Next, we have Sunflowmon. This is the one where when Digivolving, you can suspend it and play a 3000 or less of the Vegetation Plant or Fairy. Fantastic card. Really, the thing that I love about this deck so much is the consistency with it. Sometimes it can be slow if you're not pulling your pieces correctly, or just having a rough time with that. But in general, it's so consistent within itself that you're able to build up your stack really fast. By turn 2 or 3, you're having some really nice Bloomlord plays. Next, we're doing this new Yakimon. It is a blocker. Sometimes you just need a simple blocker, and it is a 3 cost to play, and then a 3000 DP. I mean, sometimes you're not able to do much with that low of DP, but if it is let's say like a Crossheart or a Hunter's deck, you can block some of their guys, and then that's a suspended guy that you can then use in your plays. Next, we are going with the Blossomon, the Digisorption one, and this Blossomon is just that good. It does exactly what the deck needs to do by Digisorption -3 by suspending one of your other Digimon, green Digimon. You can Digivolve into this for reduced play costs, so essentially for free. And it's fantastic. It really helps you get into your level 6s a lot faster. Next, we have just 1 copy of the Cherrymon. This is the Digisorption and Redirection one. It is essentially a blocker, but you are able to, just with the wording and everything, you're able to redirect the attack. And so that has different plays, different ways that it does things within the deck. Next, we have 4 copies of Hydromon. This is just one of the best ultimates, level 5s for this deck, because on your main phase, you're able to suspend and then play a Digimon by an effect. Now into our level 6s, 4 copies of Bloomlordmon. Bloomlordmon is just such a good card because when you Digivolve, you are able to gain memory, you're able to unsuspend and gain piercing. And then for every 2 suspended, including itself, which is something I didn't understand at first, you gain plus 2000 DP and plus 1 security. And if you aren't able to play out a ton of guys, but you just have your Bloomlord and then one other guy, you're at least getting security plus 1 and 14,000, which aside from a handful of cards, you are going to be able to hit at least those 2 security, unless you hit an option card, of course. Next, we're doing 3 copies of the Hydromon. I didn't really see the value in the Hydromon or the Hydracy for a long time, mainly because I don't know, I was just focused on and tunnel visioned on Bloomlordmon. But now I'm really seeing the value, just because it has saved me some games of gaining memory and also just being able to take out the opponent's cards that are on the board. It's a fantastic card, and I would definitely recommend running 3. Next, the new and amazing card that you're going to be seeing everywhere that is going to take over this meta and basically be the Death X of this meta right now is going to be Quartzmon. Quartzmon, when it digivolves, it suspends everything. Tamers, Digimon, everything except itself. And I don't need to tell you how good that is for a Bloomlord deck, and that's one reason why it is so good. And so if you have this card out, if you're able to digivolve into it, it obviously does more, but you should definitely read into it yourself and just see what it does. It is crazy. It is fantastic. It's also going to be very, very annoying, and it's going to make a lot of people very frustrated and be called for restricted or a ban. But as we've seen from past ban lists and restricted lists, Bandai doesn't always listen to the community, because I don't think they... I think they're looking more towards the future and not necessarily what is hurting us right now. Yeah. Next, those are all the Digimon. Next, we're doing 2 copies of the Mimi, the green Mimi. This one is really good for the deck. It's a memory setter. You can do so much with just 3 memory in this deck. And also, when you suspend it, you can hatch or do the hatching phase again, which for this deck is fantastic. I've won a few games where I got all their security off, but then I didn't have anything to do, so I did the hatching phase and I was able to attack with that Digimon. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's there's a reason why it still costs around $10. It fluctuates, but there's a reason why this tamer has consistently been a pretty high price point for tamers. Next, we're going to play 1 copy of Hidden Potential Discovered. It suspends the Digimon, and you're able to reduce the Digivolution cost by 5. Really, it will not only do really good for Quartzmon, but it still does fantastic for Bloomlord and Hydromon. Then we're going to do 3 copies of Green Memory Boost. I am debating running 4 and taking out the last option card, but running 3 has been very consistent for me, and I think it works really well. Even with just 2 memory, with very little memory, you can do so much with this deck. But yeah, it's a staple in most Bloomlord decks. And like I said, I'm debating running 3 or 4 copies. We'll see what happens. Next, we're doing Samadhi, and this card is more of a tech piece for me. I am still testing it out. I haven't really found its place specifically and how well it does within the deck, but I have faith in it because it does a lot of the suspending, and it only costs 1, which within this deck, low cost cards are what you want, so you can maximize that memory gain. I have seen sometimes where Bloomlord can gain up to 6 memory. It's insane, and 1 Crimson Blaze can pretty much destroy almost every card within this deck that isn't an ultimate or a mega or level 7, and so that's the danger right there. But I think that if you really are focusing on this deck and you really understand what it does with its strategy, you're able to know when and when not to suspend your Digimon and when you really want to get those plays in. This one does take a bit of time to really get used to, so I would definitely suggest it. I love Bloomlord. It is my green deck of choice, and I'm really excited for the future of it. So thank you so much for watching. This has been your Digi Daddy, and have a great day.